Good morning, Auburn. I have been trying to give this presentation for the last couple hours, but I've had crickets were so loud that you couldn't hear my soft voice. The rain was so loud you couldn't hear my voice. And then the next door neighbor is putting a roof on, and all you could hear was the air hammer. So now I'm inside, which I like being outside. I hope you will enjoy our fourth Citizen Minute, as we all just celebrated 248 years since the birth of this wonderful nation. A lot of people say, what can we do? Well, I believe India's Gandhi said it best. He said, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. We citizens continue to be ignored by the city of Auburn, especially during Citizens Open Forum. That is why Citizens Minute was developed. The Auburn City Council is on WANI-FM 98.7 and AM 1400 radio streaming services, especially YouTube. Auburn City Council approved crane service in order to start building an AC hotel in downtown on Gay Street, while another hotel on Magnolia Street at the old Anders bookstore, we citizens refer to as Anders Hotel, is nearing completion. It seems the Auburn City Council strongly supports big businesses, especially hotels and housing, over citizens' rights. A point of observation: our mayor and council members seem to need a brush-up on Robert's Rule of Order, which is the standard for which facilitating discussion and group decision-making. We citizens would be interested in such training also. The consent agenda is on every council's meeting's agenda. The key point in a consent agenda is to use a single motion to approve multiple non-controversial action items. Rather than passing each of these items separately, it saves time. A consent agenda groups them into one motion that passes without discussion unless there's an objection. That item can be pulled out and voted separately on a different time. At Citizens Open Forum, the first person that spoke was Pete Cosgrove. Pete appreciated all that the council does, especially with all the infrastructure improvements in the city. He appreciated the article that Mayor Pro Tem Whidden wrote in her magazine, East Alabama Living, about Felton Little Park. Pete appreciated the effort on a little project that he and three other city members, Allison Hall, Houston Manning, and Megan McGowan, have been working on. He asked the city council, what does the QR code mean? It's used everywhere. Council Koblet said, quick read. Pete said John Adams wanted July the 2nd as the July 4th celebration. First fireworks was in 200 BC. George Washington ordered double portions of rum for all of his soldiers to celebrate the first 4th of July at a great time. The last two citizens will be mentioning a term called STR5. If you're not aware of that term, the STR5 consists of the 5 city council members, Taylor, Griswold, Parsons, Dawson, and Mayor Anders, who voted for Ordinance 3288 short-term rental by taking the rights away of 151 families and over 450 citizens. Next was Robert Wilkins, myself. I mentioned the two greatest births ever was the birth of the Christ child and the birth of America, with two greatest things written, the Bible and the U.S. Constitution. I quote a portion of the Declaration of Independence that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Also, we the citizens have power to alter or to abolish our present form of government. The Auburn City Council took our property rights and constitutional rights by passing Ordinance 3288 short-term rental on March 16, 2021 by the STR5. Being informed was lacking with the STR5. The city bureaucrats fell on their responsibility to disseminate proper information on both sides of the issue. The leadership with the task force and commission fell miserably. I've been asked by this Auburn City Council and other citizens why myself and others continue on the torch of freedom. Read the Declaration of Independence in the U.S. Constitution. Then you will know. And next was Susan Bolt. Susan recently listened to an interview with Ben Carson where he talks about America and how all governments move in cycles from prosperity to despair.
You know, our founders, they studied every government that ever existed in the world. And one of the things that became clear to them is that all governments tend to move in the same direction. It doesn't matter how lofty their goals are in the beginning. They move toward growth, infiltration, and domination.
Government was designed to facilitate a functioning society and to provide things to help it function, things like police protection, the rule of law, social services, and property protection. But government was not designed for the day-to-day running of your life or my life. Day-to-day activities were supposed to be up to each individual person. During the final day of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, Benjamin Franklin was asked, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" Franklin famously responded with, "A republic, if you can keep it." In a republic, citizens elect representatives who must govern according to the rule of law and are accountable to the people. A republic has an all-important constitution that limits the powers of government officials and protects individual rights as well as personal property rights. As we approach the celebration of our independence from an overbearing British rule, I want to ask the STR5, have you honored this great republic we call America? I contend that you have violated the laws and intent of our republic and our Constitution by trampling on property rights along with violating the 5th and 14th Amendments. Not only did you violate the protection of property rights, but you used location to discriminate for application of your ordinance. Why are short-term rentals okay on one side of the street and not on the other? The interference by the City of Auburn and the STR5 with the passage of Ordinance 3288 is a prime example of the government infiltrating, dominating, and stomping on personal property rights in the Constitution. Your actions go against property rights in the Constitution. Your actions go against the very foundations that have made this country the envy of the world. As I've stated before, I never dreamed in Auburn, Alabama, that this attack on our freedom would emanate from our local representatives. The STR5 has shown the threat we all face when our representatives don't understand their roles or the principles of a democratic republic form of government. So on yet another Independence Day celebration, where we celebrate the greatest, freest, most envied country on the planet, I want you to remember the freedoms that you stripped away. The freedoms that you stripped away from me and other families using location discrimination along with the disregard for our nation's Constitution, the rule of law, and the principles that made this country great.
Susan asked the STR5, have you honored this great republic we call America?
Last week I was a part of a groundbreaking for a new office for a doctor in town. Just 5 years ago, this young man, he was very young family, very little, small, one child, was starting his practice, living his dream out of moving to Auburn and starting this practice. And it was in a little building that had about 4 offices in there. And here we are 4.5 years later, he's building his own building. He's added another child to his family. And he's very thankful for the support that this community has brought forth to him. There are stories like that I get a chance through my relationship with the Chamber of Commerce and cutting ribbons get to hear all the time. Auburn is not a perfect community, but there are a lot of people that are fulfilling their dreams and bringing their families here to raise them and to be a part of our community. And during this 4th of July, I'm very thankful for that as well.
Question from an Auburn citizen. Her name was Joy. She asked, While the moment of silence is less than 6 seconds at the City Council meetings, it is impossible to create a thought in 6 seconds. Well, Joy, I Googled it. A moment of silence is the period of silent contemplation, prayer, reflection, or meditation. You're right. 6 seconds is not long enough. Now let me give you the thought of the month by Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Please make comments or become a guest speaker on Citizens Minutes by going to nextdoor.com or youtube.com. Next council meeting is at 6 p.m. on July the 16th at 141 Ross Street. You should show up. If not, turn on the internet or go to the radio stations. Appreciate it. Until Auburn's Voice.